The air inside Madison Square Garden was electric long before Blake Shelton took the stage. It was a crisp November evening in New York City, and the sold-out crowd buzzed with anticipation. Fans in cowboy boots and flannel shirts mingled with executives from record labels, influencers, and music journalists. It wasn't just another stop on Shelton's Heartlines and Highways tour. It was the final U.S. show of the year, a symbolic homestretch before the holidays. The stage lights dimmed, and the giant LED screens behind the band flickered to life. A low, rumbling cheer grew into a roar as the opening chords of Honey Bee rang out. Blake strode into the spotlight with his usual mix of swagger and ease, guitar slung low, the faint grin that had made him a television darling on The Voice spreading across his face. For the next hour, the concert unfolded like clockwork. Hit after hit, playful banter, a few sips from his red solo cup, and a crowd that sang along to every chorus. But something felt slightly different that night. Between songs, Shelton's tone carried a little more bite, a little less of the carefree charm fans expected. When he cracked jokes about the music industry or teased the audience, there was an undercurrent, a tension that only those in the front rows could sense. Then, just after performing God's Country, Blake paused. The band kept playing softly, the spotlights narrowed, and he stepped toward the microphone. What followed would echo far beyond the walls of the arena. The moment everyone will talk about. "Y'all ever feel like the business forgets what music's really about?" he began, his voice gravelly but steady. The crowd cheered, assuming it was another of his candid stage rants. But his expression didn't match the light-hearted tone they expected. "I mean it," he continued. "We pour our hearts out, spend years writing songs that come from real life, pain, loss, love, and then some suit in LA tells you it's not marketable enough." A nervous ripple moved through the audience. Cameras in the crowd tilted upward. Phones went up like a field of flashlights. Shelton wasn't joking anymore. "They don't care about the stories," he said, his voice rising. "They care about numbers, streams, clicks. That's what's killing country music. That's what's killing all music." A few people clapped. Others murmured, unsure whether to cheer or stay quiet. Then Blake took a deep breath, looked straight into the camera, broadcasting the show on a local live stream, and added a line that would light up the internet within hours. "I'm tired of pretending this industry isn't fake half the time. I've seen good artists buried because they wouldn't play the game, and I'm done playing it." For several seconds, the arena went silent. Even the band stopped playing. Then came the chaos. Some fans screamed in support, chanting his name. Others stood frozen, phones in hand, recording. The concert crew exchanged alarmed looks. One of the producers reportedly motioned to cut the feed. But Blake didn't back down. "Let's get back to some real music," he said finally, strumming the opening chords of Austin. The crowd erupted again, but this time the energy had changed. It wasn't just excitement anymore. It was confusion, disbelief, and maybe admiration, a shockwave through the night. Backstage staff later told reporters they'd never seen Shelton that fired up. "It wasn't planned," said one anonymous crew member. "That part wasn't in the set list, and there was no cue for the band to stop playing. He just went off script." By the time the encore ended and the lights came up, Twitter, now X, had already exploded. Clips of Blake's speech, grainy and shaky but unmistakable, circulated under the hashtag BlakeSheltonSpeaksOut. Fans argued in real time. Some called it the most honest thing a mainstream artist has said in years. Others accused him of disrespecting his own industry. Outside the venue, the street was chaos. Reporters who had been covering the concert for lifestyle outlets suddenly found themselves chasing a breaking story. Paparazzi cameras flashed as security escorted Blake to a waiting SUV. When one shouted, "Blake, were you talking about your own label?" he offered no reply, just a wave and a tight-lipped smile before disappearing into the car. A city that never sleeps, and a story that wouldn't either. By midnight, Billboard, Variety, and several Nashville-based trade publications had picked up the story. Entertainment blogs speculated that Shelton's comments were aimed at executives from his longtime label, Warner Music Nashville, though no names were mentioned. Meanwhile, fan accounts on Instagram began posting long captions about truth in country music and corporate control of creativity. Within hours, thousands of comments flooded in, some emotional, some mocking, many simply stunned. "Blake just said what everyone else is afraid to say," one fan wrote. "He bit the hand that feeds him," another replied. "That's brave, or career suicide." The clip from the concert amassed over 5 million views overnight. Major networks requested official statements from Shelton's management. As of the following morning, there was silence. For Blake Shelton, known for his humor, warmth, and carefully polished public image, this sudden act of defiance was a complete curveball. Yet those who had followed his career closely saw hints of this frustration for years. Moments when he'd spoken about authenticity, creative pressure, and his longing to keep country music country. Whatever had been building inside him, it had finally erupted in front of 20,000 people in New York City. When the lights went down at Madison Square Garden and fans started filing out into the chilly Manhattan night, the real show had only just begun. Within minutes, snippets of Blake Shelton's impassioned onstage outburst flooded the internet. On Twitter X, the first video, posted by a fan sitting near the front row, racked up nearly 500,000 views within 20 minutes. The caption read simply, "Did Blake Shelton just call out the entire music industry? Blake Shelton Speaks Out, MSG show." From there, it spread like wildfire. Hashtags, hot takes, and hysteria. By midnight, at least 7 different hashtags were trending globally. Blake Shelton Speaks Out, Country Music Revolt, Blake Unfiltered, Truth Hurts, MSG Meltdown, Blake Viz Nashville, and Real Music Matters. Fans posted divided reactions, some emotional, some combative. "He's 100% right. Country's lost its soul," one user wrote. "Oh please, this from a guy who's been part of the machine for decades," replied another. Influencers and music critics jumped into the fray. Nashville songwriter Jenna Harper tweeted, "Finally someone said it. You can't even pitch a heartfelt ballad anymore unless it trends on TikTok first." Meanwhile, Country Weekly's digital editor quipped, "Blake Shelton calling the industry fake is like Santa admitting Christmas is commercialized." Even The Voice fans chimed in, drawing parallels between Shelton's comments and his years mentoring young artists. Some suggested that his experience with rising talent had made him more aware of the industry's pressures. Others thought it was personal, perhaps a rift with his label or a creative clash behind the scenes. From shock to speculation, by the next morning, nearly every major entertainment outlet had weighed in. TMZ published an article titled, "Blake Shelton's MSG Rant, a Career Risk or a Truth Bomb," while E! News called it an unprecedented act of rebellion from one of country music's most bankable stars. Rolling Stone released a think piece within hours. Shelton's speech, whether intentional or impulsive, echoes a growing frustration among artists who feel their creative voices are being drowned out by algorithms and executive demands. That same day, talk shows picked up the story. On Good Morning America, the entertainment correspondent described the outburst as a raw and risky moment in an era when every word can become a headline. On The Talk, hosts debated whether Shelton's comments would hurt or humanize him. Even Blake's fellow country stars were asked for reactions. Some dodged, others chimed in anonymously. One veteran Nashville producer reportedly told Variety, "Everyone in this business has thought it, but nobody says it in front of 20,000 fans and a live stream." The silence from Team Shelton. Amid the frenzy, one voice was conspicuously missing, Blake Shelton's own. His official social media accounts went dark for nearly 24 hours after the concert. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no responses to the growing sea of headlines. His wife, Gwen Stefani, also remained silent, despite fans flooding her comments with questions like, "Is Blake okay? And did you know he'd say that?" According to sources close to Shelton's camp, his PR team was meeting urgently the morning after the show to discuss how to handle the fallout. One insider, speaking to Us Weekly, claimed they were blindsided. Nobody in his team expected him to go off script like that. The phones haven't stopped ringing. Another insider hinted that Blake was not backing down. He said what he meant, and he's standing by it. But they're figuring out how to manage the narrative. Fan divides and emotional posts. On TikTok, fans began posting emotional reaction videos. One popular creator teared up on camera saying, "I grew up on Blake's songs. Hearing him talk about real music and not selling out, that hit hard." Another user stitched the viral clip with a message that read, "If even someone like Blake Shelton feels trapped by the system, imagine how hard it is for new artists." But the backlash came just as swiftly. Critics accused Shelton of hypocrisy, noting that he'd long benefited from the very industry he was now condemning. Easy to call out fake music after 20 years of topping charts, one user wrote. If you hate the system, stop cashing its checks. Still, the debate only made the story grow. By the second evening, Shelton's name was mentioned more than 3 million times online, and streaming numbers for his catalog had spiked by 18%. A curious irony, given his speech about numbers and streams. The theories begin. Rumors swirled about what had triggered the rant. Some believed Shelton was referring to a recent dispute over creative control for his next album. Others speculated that a corporate executive had criticized one of his unreleased tracks. Anonymous sources even claimed that Blake had been under increasing pressure to adapt his sound for younger audiences, a move he reportedly resisted. He's old school country, said one industry insider. He doesn't want to turn his songs into TikTok jingles. Several entertainment blogs began publishing unverified leaks, suggesting tension between Shelton and his label in recent months. None of these were confirmed, but they only added fuel to the fire, a moment bigger than a concert. What made the entire episode so explosive wasn't just what Blake said, it was who said it. Here was a man often described as the safe face of country music, a charming, TV-friendly artist who joked easily and avoided controversy. To hear him publicly call out the system that made him famous was, to many, both shocking and exhilarating. For younger artists, it felt like validation. For executives, it felt like betrayal. As one Nashville radio host put it, it's like your star quarterback walking off the field mid-game and saying the league is rigged. Even people outside of country music were weighing in. Pop and rock musicians shared the clip with captions like, "Respect," and finally, "Someone speaks the truth."